Hey.
Hi again, and welcome to Your Amazing Edge podcast, where we discuss personal development obstacles and challenges and ways to clear out our path to personal and professional success, or wherever you're trying to get to. I'm Zev Halpern on the East Coast.
I'm Sarah Polyakov on the West Coast, and we are nationwide and worldwide. So we value your point of view, and don't hesitate to stop by one of our LinkedIn feeds and drop us a line or a comment. Tell us what's on your mind, especially if you're tuned in right now, and tell us what's getting in the way of your success. Today, we are looking at what it takes to live in the now and to pull ourselves from the past so we can move forward to the present.
So chillax, open your minds, open your hearts a little bit, and consider some new options and personal opportunities to move your life forward. So let's start with a few questions today. Are you living in the past or are you living in the present? Many people would answer that in many, many different ways. Hello there, Edward Zia. Nice to see you.
Yeah,
Thank you for stopping by.
thank you.
From Edward Zia, influencer superb from down under. Thank
Follow
you.
Edward Zia. He's your man.
There you go. Do you want to be held back by a past that no longer serves you? A lot of people are doing that. Are you ready to embrace the extraordinary and strive to reach your potential? So these are questions, that if somebody fired them at you, who knows? You might curse at them, or you might answer them, or you might struggle to answer them because they are deep and big questions, and all of us find ourselves in the midst of these particular questions. But we need, in order to live in the present, because the past has so much to do with who we are, we need to acknowledge um, who influenced us in the past and not let these influences, unless they were just wonderful and super influences, um, we need to get them out of our system because they're talking to us. I know I have people talking to me, and sometimes I got to tell them to just shut up,
Exactly.
because they're loud. These voices are loud, and they
And they,
prevent us from
right.
getting to where we really want to get to.
Yeah, voices from the past can burrow deep into our brains and they can affect how we see the world and how we interact with the world.
Have you ever wondered what's holding you back, keeping you at a stuck point? I know I have. And sometimes it's not so hard for me to wonder because I remember some of the messages that some of the adults in my childhood were giving me, and they weren't very positive, although, maybe I deserved it. But the thing is, we pull these things into our present. These messages stick. The one thing they do have, they don't just flow through. They just come at us, and then they got flypaper. They stick
Super
to
glue.
us, right? And all when something comes up or some personal obstacle or someone gets in our face or we have a challenge that just seems insurmountable, that little voice of those influences all of a sudden comes out and starts beating us up and not letting us get where we really need to go. We bring these ingrained things from our childhood, and here they lie. We need to shed them. Snakes, they shed their skin. We're not snakes, but we need to shed some of this if we want to move forward. And because they've lost relevance. They were relevant when we were kids. We heard the messages. If you if you misbehaved, there was punishment. So if unless you were like a dumbass, you like said, "Hey, I better behave," and 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 try to do whatever these adults, misguided as they might have been, um, what they're trying to get, so that I don't have to pay a ridiculous price in the principal's office, which, by the way, I spent a considerable amount of time of my life in. I think I knew every cranny of the principal's office.
And we might have both come from the day when they still used paddles in the principal's office. Did he have a paddle?
Well, he was a mean guy. And one time, a little story just to diverge. I must have been misbehaving in the worst kind of way. Zev, the third grader, and he came into the room, and all my classmates looked at me and said, "You're in deep. You're just like," they gave me that look like you're. He chased me around the room, picked me up, held me, and was squeezing me in a way that adults shouldn't do. And he
Oh,
dragged me down the hall.
oh,
And a little lady who happened to know my family, happened like a rescue angel, was sitting there in the hallway, and there she goes, "You put that boy down, you brute!" Like that.
yay.
You know, if you don't believe in angels, you might consider believing in angels. I've had a few in my life. Other times, maybe they didn't appear when I wish they would have, but such is life.
That
But
was
anyway, we unfortunately we this dysfunctional stuff that we bring with us, and it is dysfunctional, and it was dysfunctional, some of it back then. We bring it in, and we, instead of navigating a functional life, we learn to navigate a dysfunctional life, which, number one, takes a tremendous amount of energy and socks the life out of us. And trying to navigate dysfunction it's a losing battle, but we try anyway, because that's what we have, that's what our experience was, and that's what we learned how to do. And guess what happens to us? Our dysfunctional systems become comfort zones. And all of us, we hear about, you got to get out of your comfort zone, you got to run out of your comfort zone, you got to leap out of your comfort zone, and not so easy. Sarah and I, in a book that we wrote, which is called Your Discover Your Amazing Edge, we wrote, don't rush out of your comfort zone. Find stepping stones to take you at your pace. Leave your comfort zone, but don't leave it, so that it scares you to death. There are some people who are scared to death to leave their comfort zone, and rightfully so. There were punishments and there were all kinds of consequences that they faced when they made moves on their own. And so they learned, best to just keep a low profile, don't rock the boat and stay in your comfort zone. But unfortunately, the dysfunction becomes your comfort zone, and you become familiar with, instead of a functional kind of way to live, a dysfunctional way to live. And venturing out on your own is daunting. It's overwhelming. It's downright scary.
It can be
And then,
anxiety inducing because the patterns are so ingrained that leaving that comfort zone actually produces anxiety, even if leaving is good for you.
and our brains, an incredible thing that we have on board, it acts in ways we don't really understand. It acts on its own, unless we find a way to direct our brains, by living in a conscious kind of way. But what happens is our brain tricks us to stay stuck in these dysfunctional, unhealthy quicksand. And that's what it is. We're stuck in the quicksand. We want to live out our potential, but we say, what, maybe it's just not going to happen for me. And that's sad, because it can happen for anybody. But you have to either extricate yourself or seek support, get some help from somebody else, a mentor, whoever it may be. Grab a rung, especially if it's handed to you, and pull yourself out, because this unhealthy quicksand is a place people stay their whole lives. And those of you out there who are experiencing that, you know what I'm talking about. You know what it is to be stuck in the quicksand, to not have had the greatest role models in your life, to not have had maybe opportunities that you feel other people had, or maybe you blew some opportunities. Hey, I've blown opportunities in my life. I wish I could have some of them back, but I can't. So I have to just keep on moving. You know that, which is a really important thing to do. So how do we break free? How do we break free from these old dysfunctional stuff that now has turned even into something even worse, self-sabotage? We start all of a sudden like we're headed for something wonderful and we blow it ourselves. And we ask ourselves, now, why did I do that? What do you think, Sarah? Why? Why? What's with the self-sabotage?
So I believe personally that self-sabotage happens because we are getting out of our comfort zone. So many people want to be successful. That's like the number one item on their list. I want to be successful. But if they haven't known success, the paradox is that they can get frightened by success. It's unknown territory once again. But the good news is our mind, I feel like our mind is both our own jailer and also our own freer,
Liberator.
liberator. We have the key. So we have the key to free ourselves from that mindset. That's the good news. How to do it? That's the issue.
The first and most important step is to acknowledge, recognize this is what's going on. Not let the world act on you, but you act on the world. And when you recognize them, when they pop up and you see them for their ugly self that they are, then you can find a way to deal with them. This is how we take back our power. This is how we make conscious choices in our life, and we end up living healthier lives. But there's some pain in it when you have to move against a powerful influence. There's pain, and I'm not telling you there's not going to be pain, but it's time to let go of what we know and embrace the possibilities of what we don't. That's a crucial point in our lives. And I'm going to say it again. It's time to let go of what we know and embrace the possibilities of what we don't. You know the song, Sarah. Sing it. Let it go. Let's go.
Oh, let it go.
Thank
Let it go.
There you go.
Yeah, right.
Sarah's got a good voice.
Thank
So
you. Thank you. So, speaking of, I wanted to talk about that woodpecker story and living in the now. So, this morning, there was all this scratching, scratching, scratching in the wall, banging in the wall, and everybody in my house was terrified. And what had happened is we had this stovepipe that we had covered with some paper. Somehow, a woodpecker, a full grown woodpecker, had gotten through this paper. And so, oh my goodness, we're having a hailstorm right now. I hear, as I'm talking to the woodpecker, I hear all this pounding on the window. So
it's dangerous to live in Washington State.
it is. So
living on the Puget Sound where Sarah lives.
Exactly.
It's dangerous out there. You got to be like a frontier woman or something.
I know. So everybody in the house is scared. I live in a house full of men, and well, the male dogs weren't scared. They wanted to know what this thing was. So it was peeking around the paper that it had cut through. And I was like, is that an owl? What is that? So I put on some blue gloves, and everybody's terrified of what it is because it's peeking out and it has claws. And when I opened and pulled the paper back, out flies this gorgeous full-grown woodpecker, and it lands on my bookshelf. And I was like, wow, that is incredible. And everybody's scared of this giant woodpecker still, even though it's beautiful. So I decide, let's tame the woodpecker. And again, I had on the blue gloves that you handle birds with. And so I started singing to the bird, and I got the bird to climb into my hand. And then the bird was finally sitting on my arm of its own accord. It decided to do that. And after I realized it was okay, I took him outside, and he got to fly away.
I think everybody needs a Sarah in their house. People buy dogs and parakeets and all kinds of things like that. Maybe, I think you need a Sarah.
Maybe.
Just do the job, get it done. Birds, wild animals, hail, just Sarah going to get it done for you.
Not scared of any of it. So it was just the most amazing thing. We got these beautiful photos, and it came from, we wouldn't have had this really cool experience. It was a beautiful experience that we had with this woodpecker. But if everybody had stayed and huddled and gotten frightened by the scratching and the eyes peeking around, we wouldn't have got to experience this gorgeous bird, which was very gentle and very tame. And it kind of made everybody's day. So
the only woodpecker that I know, well, I hear woodpeckers outside of my house knocking the trees, but I could date myself by mentioning Woody Woodpecker.
Woody Woodpecker
used to be this amazing television character where you had a cartoonist who drew him doing the things that he was doing, which was kind of cool. So that's really my only experience. Sarah, then again, the frontier woman of Washington State, she has amazing experiences with woodpeckers, hail, and other natural things.
And I will post that photo. I will post some of those photos to LinkedIn because they're quite different looking. They don't look like the Woody Woodpecker in the cartoon. They're very beautiful birds, and they have very long beaks. I was very surprised at the large beak that the bird had, but it was very gentle. So, what did I do in that now? I could have chosen to be afraid at this thing clawing at the wall like the rest of my family was, or I could have gone to just investigate and take it a step at a time.
So really living, in the present, we have to live consciously in the now. We have to face challenges and face our old challenges. You showed that you hold the key. You have it. And if you want to reach your aspirations now and into the future, you have to live now into the future with an understanding, as we all need, of where we came from. You have a choice. We all have choices. Retreat, to the old dysfunction. We get scared or we get nervous, or we something familiar and we retreat to that, or deal with what emerges in the present moment. If you can deal with what emerges, and believe me, in our life, it can be wonderful and it can be terrible, and everything in between. But the important thing is not basically to don't let these trap doors step over the trap doors. There's a lot of trap doors. There's a lot of holes in the road. Train yourself and your mind to stay in the present moment. Who are you now? You're not who you were. You're a combination of who you were and who you are now. But who you are now needs to take precedence over who you were as you move and deal, with whatever emerges in your life. Because you got the power to create this amazing future for yourself. You really do. What are some of the tools people use? They use perseverance. They fail forward. When things happen, instead of just giving up, they recognize that this didn't go according to plan, and they fail forward. They take a lesson and they move it up a few notches instead of getting smacked around by something, someone else, or even something that isn't even real anymore, but it's just some kind of message.
And isn't that interesting that things that aren't even real anymore can still embed themselves in our minds? Have you had that experience?
Yeah, they're stuck. I mean, they're sticky. These things, we don't learn to let things flow through us. If things flow, if there was a flow through, It wouldn't stick to us like some of the really we're affected by emotional realities. People's they look at us wrong. They have a nasty tone. They yell. This all has a huge effect. And basically, growth is never easy. It's not easy. This is growth. Growth is painful. We talk about growing pains. Well, you're going to have growing pains, but those kind of growing pains give birth to success feelings, to feelings of success, to feelings that you can handle the world and you can do the things that you want to do. You, yeah, I'm talking to you. You
Yes.
can do it.
And
Even though there's messages in your mind that said, I can't do it, I'm overwhelmed, I'm psyched out, that's it, I'm done. The hell with it, I can't do it.
And then what about people? Okay, so Zev, here's a question. For any viewers out there, let's say they're in a relationship, whether it's with coworkers or family members, where they're getting criticism on the daily, right? And so that criticism is sticking like glue to them because they hear it constantly.
Why are they sitting there listening to it? Maybe they have to. Maybe they don't feel that they can, maybe you don't feel like you can get yourself out of, the deer in the headlights kind of thing. You just all of a sudden just get, oh, I'm stuck, I'm frozen. And anybody and all of us can easily understand that. But you need to make a decision. This is about making a decision. Let go of these past patterns. They don't serve you, and they're not good. They serve someone else. They certainly aren't serving you. What you do today, right after this, in a minute from now, 20 minutes from now, after you watch the hockey game, if all of a sudden you say, I'm going to do it. I was talking to somebody who is really trying to find success in their lives the other day, and they're stuck in a pattern. The alarm clock, they were doing pretty well. All of a sudden, the alarm clock goes off in the morning, and they're supposed to be somewhere so that they can do what they need to do, studying for a particular test. And instead, the message is, I'm not going to pass the test, so I might as well just sleep.
Oh,
Then they sleep and they wake up, and then at night, they say to themselves, I'm pretty remorseful. I wish I would have gotten up. And then the next day they do the same thing because it's painful when you have a goal, you have to try to climb, and you have to scratch at it and your fingers are going to get bloody. It's worth it. It will always be worth it to advance yourself forward. And the rewards are big if you can stay the course. And one quick suggestion is, if in this amazing effort that you're putting forward, you're persevering, you're sweating, you got sweat equity in it, and all of a sudden you go, oh, I can't do it anymore, or you run into a wall, pause, recharge. Nobody's going to, smack you for doing that. That's a self-care mechanism. That's something you do to take care of you. Recharge, plug yourself in, plug that Tesla, pretty relevant little word now these days. Plug that Tesla back in, and get it going again so it's full charged, and you can go 0 to 60 in whatever Tesla promises you. The choice is all yours, and what happens is yours, and the present. You're alive, you're vertical, you're walking, you're in the present. What's it going to be? Extricate yourself from this old stuff and become you. Become the different parts that all make up the thing that's you. Because you're special and you're unique, and there's nobody like you in the world. And maybe that sounds trite. Maybe that sounds like bullshit, but it's not.
it's true. It's true.
So, Sarah, anything else to add about this living in the present? And we have a chapter on this in the book. And I hope again that you'll reach for the book, Discover Your Amazing Edge, available on Amazon. Sarah and I are here twice a week. We made a decision to do that. There's some holidays coming up, so we're going to go off the pattern a little bit in the next few weeks, but we're going to stay doing this. And these podcasts, by the way, are available on many podcast platforms, and you're going to start to see them on iHeartRadio, on Apple, on Amazon, and about 5 different ones. How are you, Addisa Lawrence? Nice to see you. I know it's good night and welcome from Addisa. So it must be time to go to sleep for you. We're still hanging in. It's about 5:30 here on the East Coast and 8:30 for Sarah. So I think Addisa is in the UK.
Yeah.
So time for bed. But we're so happy that you came and checked in with us. Thank you for that.
And I have a hack if people can't get out of that mind circle that they get into. I mean, I can get into a circle where I can be like that person who doesn't wake up to take the test because I'm scared. Now, that doesn't happen often, but I'm thinking back to younger days, and I would use music as the way to get psyched up. So this sounds trite too, but I was going through a really bad time in my early 20s, and the song called In the Middle by Jimmy Eat World had come out, and there were days when I would just listen to this song on repeat because it put to the mindset that I needed. I needed those words at that moment in time. So music is an incredible hack, and that's one of the reasons we started the show today with a little bit of music.
Yeah, that was a late decision there, but a good decision.
A good decision. We are music lovers.
So Sarah and I are going to be doing a little mini course called Leap Forward, and we're going to do it live on April 29th here at 5 o'clock. And I hope you'll be there. There's a lot to get out of that. All of us want to leap forward. And that's how we make our present turn into a better future when we take that leap. And Addisa Lawrence says, Sarah, that music inspires him as well. And,
yeah.
That he gets inspired by it. But join us Fridays for Spicy Friday. Sarah and I have worked with couples and with people, infidelity and repairing relationships for a long time. And it's something.
Yep. We've worked with trauma. We've worked with neurodiversity, autism, all kinds of things.
So join us as we on Fridays try to give you something helpful to get into your weekend, to take into your weekend. A lot of people look forward to their weekends, but they don't necessarily look forward to their relationships on their weekends because their relationships have become places that they just don't want to be. And that can change. You can change that, but one of you has to make the change. One of you has to decide that it's time to draw a line in the sand. And, as we talked about last week, draw a line in the sand and step over it together. Also, ask us about our concierge services. Really a very convenient on-site intensive that addresses your personal and professional obstacles and meets your schedule and goals. That's something that interests you. I hope that you'll DM us, inquire about it. We would be happy to talk about making that a reality.
It is. It's an accelerator, and in the past, I've done these in Hawaii, one-on-ones in Hawaii, and they are as part of a concierge service. And
there's a number of ways we can do it.
Incredible.
We want you to be involved in how that happens, because if you're not, then you're just kind of along for the ride. This is kind of like a whole immersive situation where you play an important role in making the changes in your life. So that's really what I have today.
Right.
And it's Tuesday in America here, and it's Tuesday all over the world, and Wednesday in Australia. And
Wednesday to Australia.
right. And we'll see you next Tuesday. We will not be doing Spicy Friday this particular Friday, but we'll be back the following week. So we'll be skipping this Friday, and we'll miss doing that because it's become part of our Fridays. So anyway, check out these podcasts on your podcast platform, and have a great day. And Sarah, it was enjoyable. Love hearing about that woodpecker of yours.
Thank you.
I hope you have a big cage. So, because I'm not sure that a woodpecker flying around your house is a super good idea, but it was a great story, and thank you.
Oh, it's a beautiful yes.
Have a great week, everybody. Thumbs up.
Week. Yeah, thumbs up. See
We'll
you
see
soon, guys.
See you soon. Bye-bye.